darn thing. All right, so we are now recording. Smile, you're all on camera. Or not all of you are on camera, but so here's what I will say. I am going to record lectures every day so that people, if you can't make it, you can still see the lecture. So let's see, how many people we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So well, not quite everybody is here, but we've got a lot of people. So I guess I will apologize for the pandemic making us meet virtually. I will tell you that I much prefer to meet in person, and I was hoping to meet in person, but last semester I taught a trig class that ended just last week. We only had 16 students, and 3 of them got COVID during the 7-week semester. And I just thought, I don't want to risk that. So our class is really full anyway. I don't know if you've been to the liberal arts building where our class would have been. We would have been in a computer lab, and we would be using Excel quite a bit. So I'm going to have to adjust this. The testing center, you may or may not like this. We'll find out, I guess. Normally, I give you a written test in class, and then I have you take a test in the testing center. The testing center is closed, so everything's going to have to be online, and I'm going to post a Proctorio quiz. Basically, you have to download a Proctorio plugin using Google Chrome, and if you can see, it's going to be a 1-question quiz due tomorrow that will say, can you see this question? Now, if it asks you for a password, that means you have not installed the Proctorio thing. It shouldn't ask you for a password. If you have Proctorio, that takes care of the password. So it'll just be a 1-point thing, and it'll just make sure that you have your quiz ready. So I know most of you are on mute, and that's fine. I will also just mention, I know Emily is a guest, so is Jen Wright and Caitlin Lewis and McKay Hirsch. Thank you for putting your name in there. There's a few other people, Victor and Paul. If you download the software, it won't, you can get in the room yourself. You don't have to wait for me to add you to the room. And it's just it's a little bit easier to use. So so I would encourage you to go ahead and download the software. And if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourselves and go ahead and ask me the questions. So let me hopefully share my screen. Okay. So the first thing we'll go over is the homework and the syllabus. We'll go over the syllabus first. So I just barely updated this about 5 minutes ago. So if you downloaded it beforehand, basically, if you go to Canvas and go to syllabus, I've got the syllabus right here. So I would prefer that you use the Canvas email. I check that one more frequently, pretty much every day I check that one. If you want to use my official UVU email address, I don't check that maybe once a week. So Canvas email is preferred. I've also got my phone number here. That's my cell phone. I am teaching 3 statistics classes this semester, so don't tell me you're in my stats class. That's not going to help. If you need to text me for some reason, or call me, you can use that number, and that should get a hold of me. I will answer unless I'm in class, most likely. So anyway, the text that we're using is going to be informed decisions using data. And maybe if I unshare for a minute, I'll show you what it looks like. There it is. It's got kind of a sweatshirt thing on there. It's a really good book. I'm really happy with this book. Some of you have already asked me. I know the third edition. I'm using the fourth edition, and so that's what the homework is going to be based on. As I recall, the third edition and the fourth edition are very, very similar. I think there's a few sections that are out of order. And of course, the homework problems are, the order has changed. But I'm going with the fourth edition. If you're good at math, you can probably get away with the third edition. But if you're not good at math, then you probably ought to get the fourth edition, just to make sure you know what you're doing. But that's what the homework is based on. What else? So the final exam is going to be on Monday, December 14th, 2018. I believe ours is from 7 to 9. When we get closer to that, maybe I'll ask you if you want to take it from 8 to 10, but I don't want to mess up your finals if you have something else. I'm not going to go over this whole thing. You can read it. But anyway, Math 1050, you need a grade C or better within the last 2 years. The college will, or the math department will kick you out if you haven't met that. That will not be me doing that. That will be the math department. Homework, we're going to, homework's intended to be practice. What I've decided to do this semester, this is new. They don't have any online homework for this book, even though it's a good book. So I'm just going to ask you how much homework you completed. 100%, 75%, 50%, 25% every day. So that will, I won't be checking it. It will just be your honor system, and you can just tell me how much homework you completed, and that will be that. It will be due 5 minutes before class each day. I'm also going to have a quiz question that will come. Well, if you do your homework, they should be easy. I don't do makeup quizzes, but they're due 5 minutes every day before class. So you'll have a quiz that's due at 7:55 a.m. tomorrow. I need to write that quiz. And so anyway, I'll be doing that after class today. The tests, I think, as a general rule, they're going to be every other Thursday. We'll probably go about 3 weeks for the first test, and then they'll be every other week. So there could be changes to the schedule, but that's generally probably what I'm going to do. Whether we're at the end of a chapter or not, it doesn't matter. Hopefully, since we're online, nobody's going to miss a test because it will be online. I will say, I haven't decided this semester, but I'm probably, I haven't decided if I'm going to give you an hour or maybe a little bit longer for the test. But if I give you an hour for the test, and I'll probably do that for the first test for sure, I will probably give you a few points extra credit if you take it between the hours of 8 and 9 a.m. So basically the tests, well, the quizzes will probably be almost all multiple choice. There could be some examples. Did somebody just join us? I heard a beep. Oh, yeah, Emily. Hopefully she's going to get in here. But so the tests will be a mixture of multiple choice and show your work. Basically, here, let me go back on camera for a second. Okay, so let's say that this is, so basically at the beginning I'll say, show me your blank paper. So you'll show me your blank paper, and then you will work on your test, and then you will upload or take pictures of your test, and then I will have to just manually grade them. So has everybody taken a virtual or an online, or maybe I should ask a question, who has not taken Okay, so I've got 2 raised hands, 3 raised hands, 4. Okay, so basically, yeah, you'll just have some blank paper. We will have a, so you can either use your phone to take a picture of the test. I would prefer that you put it all in a Word document. Hopefully they're not out of focus. I've had some really bad, hard to read tests because they're out of focus and people have bad cameras on their phone apparently. Or if you can scan them in. Anyway, those will be due, I used to say within 15 minutes, but sometimes it's a little bit hard. Within 30 minutes after the test, you have to upload your handwritten work, and I will grade that. So, any questions about the test so far?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me or see me. Can you?
I can hear somebody. Is that Broderick?
Yes.
Yeah, now I can see you.
Okay, so with the test, it sounds like are you going to be like videoing us while we're doing the test? Is that how that's going to go? Okay.
Yeah. So that's part of the Proctorio setup. So okay. I won't do that for quizzes. I will only do that for tests and yeah. So what else? Any other questions on tests?
Go ahead.
Whitney's muted.
Here we go. I'm guessing it's the 30 minutes after we end the recording while we're taking the test, because you've got the hour to take the test, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
About the quiz tomorrow, you said we're going to have the 1-question quiz. Are you going to give us a separate quiz on homework today, it sounds like? Or
yeah, so there'll actually be 3 things due tomorrow. So you'll have your 1-question Proctorio quiz, which is basically, can you see this question? And if you can see it, then you've got it installed correctly. But I think it'll probably be a true-false quiz. I can see this question. And if you can't see the question, then you need to download the software. So that's 1 quiz. So 1 question, true-false. I can see this question, yes. Hopefully you're all going to say true. The 2nd question will be, how much homework did you complete? I think I just uploaded that. I actually uploaded the first 4 sections of the homework. You only have to do, I'm only planning on getting through 1.1 today. Tomorrow we'll probably cover about 3 sections because they're pretty quick. And then the 3rd quiz will be just like a multiple choice quiz that hopefully will be easy. Typically there'll be about, I won't say all quizzes will be multiple choice, but I'm going to try to do that because then I don't have to grade them, but then they're harder to make, so they take longer. So, but yeah, so the Proctorio quiz, the homework quiz, and then the quiz, the regular daily quiz. So, and we'll go over that in a minute. So, any other questions about that? All right, let me go back to the syllabus. I know this is the funnest part of every class. Extra credit, I'm going to track attendance every day. If your camera's on, you're on time, and you stay through the end of class, you'll earn 5 points. At the end of the semester, I'm going to just average this for a maximum of 5% extra credit, and I'm not going to give you any other extra credit to improve your grade. So when you bomb a test, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do any retakes or anything. So as far as it works here, 60% of your grade is going to be exams, 5% is going to be homework, and that's just simply asking how much homework you completed. 5% will be the daily quizzes, and the final exam is going to be 30%. You can see the grading scale. It's the standard grading scale, not too much there. Please don't cheat or I'll have to fail you. Oh, I didn't mention about calculators. So calculators, oh, I thought I had that in there. I might have to add a calculator thing. I don't care really what kind of a calculator you use. I personally, if you don't have a calculator, I would not spend more than $30 on a calculator. Just make sure it does statistical functions. On this first test, I will probably make you figure out how to do standard deviation by hand, but after that first test, you can just use what your calculator does. So what else here? Math lab. I am not sure what's going on with the math lab. In fact, I think they've gotten rid of the calculus and stat lab, and I don't know what the math lab's doing. I don't even know. This is what it used to be, but I have no idea if it's going to be helpful or if they're going to keep the same hours or what. I don't. So I just copied this from the last time I taught this class, which was about a year ago. So I don't know if these hours are correct, but that's what they used to be. So I will just mention this really quickly. So last semester in my trig class, I had a group of students that would meet immediately after class in this same room, and they would study together, and I think that's a wonderful idea. I'm sure some of you have other classes or work, and so if you do, that's fine. But if you want to use this same link, to meet tonight at 7, I won't be there unless you invite me and you want me to be there or whatever. But you're welcome to use this room too. So, any questions on the syllabus? I always take too long on the syllabus, it feels like, but.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Just what's the difference then between the daily homework quiz and the daily quiz? It sounded like those were two different things, right?
That's correct. So the daily quiz just asks you how much homework you completed, and you'll just tell me I completed 100%, 50%, 25%, whatever. So that's just kind of an honor system. Whereas the daily quiz is going to be an actual, describe a population, or, pick this multiple choice, calculate this statistic or whatever. Okay. So it'll be basically, it will be more like a homework quiz. Like, do you understand the homework?
Okay, so there's one like, did you do it? And then there's 2, what did you understand, pretty much.
Right.
Gotcha, thanks.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if you can hear me very well because my dog forced me to go out really quickly, but in the email you said that to let you know as soon as possible if we still didn't get a book. So I just ordered mine on Amazon. It should take a couple of days. Is that going to interfere a whole lot with first couple quizzes?
I don't think so. So like I said, I have uploaded the first 4 sections of the homework. So if you click on the quiz that's due tomorrow, there's a Word document there that has just the homework questions for the first 4 sections. I'm only planning on covering section 1.1 today. I will also post my notes today. And so the first week of class is mostly vocabulary. So if you pay attention in class, I think you can probably survive without a book pretty well. Of course, you want to get that as soon as you can, and if you get it in 2 days, I think you'll be fine. But yeah, so I know of a lot of people. I've gotten a lot of emails. I guess you don't have to email me anymore. I'm just going to publish the homework for the first 4 sections. I'll probably just copy that quiz for tomorrow as well. And tomorrow, so today the plan is I'm going to cover 1.1. Tomorrow I'm going to cover 1.2 through 1.4. I guess if you want to work ahead, and then we'll just basically go pretty much sequentially through the book. We might skip a few sections, but for the most part, we'll just go section by section. Any other questions you guys have? Okay. Now, one other thing that I just want to point out that's a little bit different, because I want to make sure you guys are paying attention. I might not do that too much this week, but a lot of times I will ask you to help me solve a problem. And so I might say, Caitlin, can you help me solve this? Or Alexander or Anna, or I usually try to pick randomly, but it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge in an online environment, but I'm still hoping that you can help me with that. And the feedback I've gotten from a lot of people is that really helps you stay focused, especially if you know you're going to be picked on. I might even do that a little bit today. And so anyway, I don't know is a perfectly acceptable answer, but it doesn't get you off the hook. Usually that tells me, or that's where the real teaching comes in, is, and I say, okay, think about it this way. And then hopefully that's where the teaching comes in. So I do like you to be on camera. I know some people show up and then walk away to try to get their points. And if I pick on you and you don't answer, then you won't get the full points for doing that. So the idea is hopefully everybody's participating. So, and I know this first week of class, I always feel like I get a dry mouth because there's a lot of vocabulary, not a lot of math, but statistics kind of has its own vocabulary. It almost, for the first week, almost feels like an English class because you're learning all these statistics terms. It's very different than most other math classes. So, all right, so I'm going to share my screen here, and hopefully we're going to cover section 1.1. But yeah, feel free to interrupt me if you don't understand anything, understand something, and we can slow down. But so section 1.1 is our introduction to stats. Statistics is the science of data. It's often more art than data. How we define things affects our conclusions. Now, let me give you an example. So I used to work for a company. It was a research company. I think every time I hear this beep, then I feel like I have to check and see if somebody got kicked out of the room and they're trying to get back in. Oh, Emily, she must have a bad internet connection. Because I know there, hopefully Emily's back in. So, but yeah, anyway, how we define things affects conclusions. Oh, I should just mention this really quickly. I am going to post these videos on YouTube after class. So if you, like, I know it looks like Emily's having some internet problems. So she'll be able to watch this on YouTube, or I think you can also watch it in Microsoft Teams after. And so I'll post a link to the YouTube or the Teams. If you have the Microsoft Teams app, then it's probably easier to watch the videos, but I'll post them on YouTube. Those will be there as well. So anyway, how we define things affects conclusions. Now, I used to work in for a medical research company in Salt Lake City, and we were working on a brain injury. And so, in fact, here we're going to do our first little poll question today. Let me go back to here. And so basically one of the things that we wanted to find out was how the person got their brain injury. Was it a fall? Was it a car accident? Was it a football injury? Was it a boating accident? And you would think that that would be a nice, easy, simple way to do this, simple, easy question. Well, I got a phone call from our Atlanta. We were working with 9 hospitals in the U.S. and 1 in Canada. And I got a phone call from our Atlanta hospital. And the person called up and they said, so I have a question for you. And this is the scenario. So I'm going to pose this question to you. I want you to play me. And I want you to tell me how you would answer this. So this is what happened. So there was a person, they were standing in the back of a pickup truck holding a mattress. So you can already tell this isn't going to go very well. The pickup truck crashed. The person fell out of the pickup truck and hit their head on a rock or something and got a brain injury. So the question is, do we classify that as a car wreck, or is that a fall because the person fell out of the truck? Okay, so I'm going to start the chat here, and basically, I think if you are logged in, then you should be able to give me a thumbs up. Who says this is a car wreck? You can thumbs up that one. Who says it should be classified as a fall because the person fell? And if you're a guest, I think you'll have to tell me what they think because I don't think you can do the thumbs up. But okay, so we've got 1 and 1. Oh, now I can't see. Oh, this is going to be hard to keep track of. You guys have to download the app so that I can see here. Okay, so I got 5 falls, 2 car wrecks, 3.
For some
Let's
reason,
see, 5, 6, 7, 8.
for some reason I can't type in the message bar. I don't know how to fix that. I'm a guest.
Yeah, the guess, I don't think you can thumbs up on the thing, but.
I can't do either. It won't let me type.
Oh, it won't let you type?
No, I don't.
Up at the top, I think there's the second icon over there's a little box, kind of looks like a person talking. You can hide the conversation and show the conversation. I don't know how that works on the web app, but anyway. All right. Well, it's hard for me to tally these, but it looks like we have a difference of opinion on whether this is a fall or a car wreck. So I'll just say there's a difference of opinion on that. Now, the fact of the matter is there is no correct answer. It can be whatever you want it to be. But my point in just showing you this is sometimes what you think is simple isn't a simple question. And so, so basically I thought, oh, we tell you what, I'm going to go to the government. The government will be able to help me classify this, right? No. So it all depends on who you talk to. If you talk to the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, they will call this, because it involved a car, it is a car wreck. And if you talk to OSHA, Occupational Safety and Hazard Administration, they will say since it's a fall. So the point is, even as something as simple as that, you can't always you can basically how you define things affects your conclusions. So am I sharing? Oh, I guess I am sharing. Can you guys see my lecture notes again?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So so how we define things affects your conclusions. You know, so you can choose however you want to do that, and then just tell everybody, oh, in the case of this, you know, we classified this as a car wreck or a fall, and that'll be fine. So in statistics, we define, organize, collect, summarize, and analyze information to draw conclusions or answer questions. We also say how confident we are in our findings, although sometimes this gets left out. Statistics has its own vocabulary, and we're going to define some terms. So individuals are objects defined by data. Individuals can be people, but they also can be things or other objects. A variable is any characteristic of an individual. So an example is, we've got some data. A lot of times we can use spreadsheets for this sort of thing. So let's see here. So this is where I'm going to try to answer some questions. Let me go to my participants here. We're going to try with Caitlin. Caitlin, are you on? I don't see you. Of course, I guess I can't see everybody. Caitlin, in this data set here, can you tell me what are the individuals?
The individuals would be Fiona, Carl, George, Stephen, and Oprah.
Okay, well done. Okay. And then, so Caitlin, is your camera working?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is? Because I don't see you for some reason. You must have your camera turned off. Oh, there you are. Oh, you're even masked up. Good for you. How about Jed? Jed, can you tell me what are the variables in this data set? Are you there, Jed? Are you muted?
Sorry, yeah, I was muted.
Okay.
Can you go back to it really quick? So I said that it was like the music, athletics, political science, physics, and communications.
Okay, so major would be one variable.
Oh, okay. So then major points in grade.
Yeah, major points and grade. So these, yeah, so in this case, we'd have three variables. Oops, I don't want to move that. So these are your variables here, major points and grade, and then your individuals would be this column here, okay? All right, we're going to come back to this. You'll notice here, for example, one variable is a bunch of text, another variable is a bunch of numbers. And so your variables can be text or numbers. And then we have this grade, and we'll talk about grade in just a minute here. Okay, so researchers want to know who recycles in a city, let's say. What would be the individuals in this case? So let's pick on Alejandro. Are you here, Alejandra?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so if researchers want to know who recycles, would it make sense to find out every individual person in a household?
Yes.
Yes? You think? So most of you probably have a big blue can at your apartment or at your house, right? Do you think it would be good to break down every individual family member in that case?
No.
No.
No, probably not. So how could
There's
we
no
define the individuals in that case?
Per household.
Okay, does that make sense, Alejandra?
Yeah.
Okay, oh, and you're on camera too, nice. Okay, so, all right, what about the variables? Let's pick on Alexander. Alexander, what would be the variables if you're trying to figure out, how would you define how you would collect how much somebody recycled?
I'd say the quantity of what they recycle.
Okay, so how would you measure the quantity?
In pounds.
Maybe in pounds, yeah. You'd probably just weigh the trash can or something like that. So, okay, so the variable would be pounds of recyclables. The individuals probably would be households, okay? All right, couple other terms here that we're gonna learn are population. Population is the entire group of individuals we want information on. And a sample is a subset of the population. A lot of times we deal more with samples than we do with populations. We've got an election coming up this fall. I have to tell you that 4 years ago, when Donald Trump was elected, I stayed up way too late that night, but I came up with a really cool lecture that we'll talk about. Well, actually, I might have to recreate it. We'll see. But anyway, we generally, for example, we generally don't talk to every American every week. We only talk to about 1,000 people, and the idea is we could, if we talk to 1,000 people, if we do it good enough, we can draw conclusions about the whole. Okay, and so an example are, you know, the Gallup polls. They do opinion surveys, and the variables of the responses. So the population. So it's interesting, especially as we start looking into this election season coming up here. Sometimes you'll have a population that are generally U.S. residents 18 and over. Sometimes you'll have registered voters. Sometimes you'll have likely voters, because not everybody who's registered is a likely voter. And so it's interesting to see a lot of the differences are because of the difference in populations. Are you just talking to everybody that's an adult 18 and over, or are you talking to registered voters, or are you talking to likely voters? So typically in samples, usually they'd ask 1,000 to 1,500 people by telephone, although we are getting into internet sampling a lot more. So another example of there's a thing called the Current Population Survey. They sample about 60,000 households each month, and they estimate the 111 million households here in America. And so that's, we'll probably talk about the Current Population Survey later on. All right, so population and sample. So let me just give you an example here before we move on. So let's say that in October, I'm going to make this up, of 2016, the Gallup survey talked to 1,200 registered voters and found 48% supported Hillary Clinton during the November election. Was found that 48.5% of voters voted for Hillary. Okay, so the question is, what is the population? Oh, you know what, actually, what is the sample? Now, before we answer that, I just realized I didn't want to answer this question yet, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this. We're going to talk about parameters and statistics first, and then not only am I going to ask you that, what is the parameter? What is the statistic? Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about parameter and statistics. So parameter is the true value. It's usually unknown, and it applies to the population. So you know, as parameter, population, those go together. We also have a statistic. A statistic is a numerical summary of data. It applies to samples. So once again, we have statistic and we have sample. Okay? So what I'd like to do here is I would like to pick on Anna. Anna, based on this scenario that I just created here, what would be the population?
Would the population be voters? Elected voters?
Okay, that was really hard to hear. Say that again.
Would the population be the 1,200 registered voters?
So the population would not be the 1,200 registered voters. It would be all registered voters. Okay. So the sample would be what?
The registered ones.
Say that again.
1,200.
Yeah, it would be the 1,200 voters. Okay. Now, I think I'm running out of room here, so I'll put those there. The parameter, let's go for that. Let's see, that was Anna Broderick. Can you tell me what do you think is the parameter in this case?
Well, in your definition, it says it's usually unknown. But I mean, wouldn't it just be 100%? I mean, because that's the best you could get, or?
So you think 100% of people voted for Hillary Clinton?
Oh, no. Okay, so 48%, 48.5% voted for Hillary.
Okay, so 48.5% voted for Hillary, because that, okay, so that would be your true value, because the election, everybody gets to vote, right? Okay. And the statistic would be, in this case, Christian. What would the statistic be? Christian, are you on mute? Looks like you are on mute, Christian. I'm hearing a beep.
It would be 48%.
Okay, there you go. Thanks. So does your camera work, Christian?
This computer I'm using doesn't have a camera on the monitor, but
Okay.
I was just trying to find where to unmute on the screen. I hadn't figured it out till now.
Oh yeah. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay. Well done. So you'll notice that they both refer to percentages, and Christian said 48%, because the 48% applies to the sample, and the parameter, because the election, we allowed everybody to vote, and if you don't vote, in this case, you don't count. So yes, so well done. Okay. You'll probably have a lot of homework problems that will tell you to identify the population, the sample, the parameter, and the statistics. So this is a good example. Okay, so descriptive statistics describe general characteristics such as weight, race, age, that sort of a thing. Data is a fact or proposition used to draw a conclusion or make a decision. It can be numerical or categorical. I got a quote from a historian named Richard Bushman who talks about the facts. I'm going to let you read that. But one of my favorite quotes here is Mark Twain said, "There are liars, damn liars, and statisticians." So a lot of times how we collect our information affects our conclusions. And so now let's do an example here. A study showed that breastfed children have higher IQs than those who are not breastfed. Is the breastfeeding contributing to the IQ, or could there be some other factor? So, and I guess the question is there something in breast milk that causes children to be smarter, or can you think of some other reason why children who are breastfed might be smarter than children who are not breastfed that may or may not have anything to do with the breast milk? So I'm just going to open that up for anybody.
Well, couldn't you say something like, if people aren't breastfed, it's possible that they weren't raised like with a mother and they were given just formula because they were in like an orphanage, so they were underprivileged and couldn't go to school. Just like, can't you draw almost any conclusion like that?
Okay, so you're saying they don't have a mother, so maybe they're in an orphanage. Okay, that might be one reason. What might be another reason?
They may not have as intense parental influence in their life, and so, like, typically if you have like a parent guiding you, it's easier to go through schooling, so maybe they just don't have that as much.
Okay. Yeah, so actually that can have a lot to do with income, like family income. So people who have, say, stay-at-home mothers might be more well off, so they can spend more time reading their children in addition to breastfeeding, whereas poor people might have to go right back to work right away because they can't afford not to do that. And so maybe there's interaction with the child that doesn't happen. So yeah, that's good. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. So yeah, so that's important to think about. So Mothers who breastfeed generally are more educated. They have higher IQs than those who do not breastfeed. It could be that the genetics play a factor, not the breastfeeding. It could be better educational opportunities. It could be that income makes smarter kids. And so all of these other variables, education, income, that sort of thing, those are what are referred to as lurking variables. And so we'll talk a little bit more about lurking variables in a future chapter, but it's good to think about it because there might be, and I'm sure there are people out there that say, well, it's something in the breast milk that causes children to be smarter, which may or may not be true. But it's always important to think about what are some other things that may not be as readily apparent. So those are what we refer to as lurking variables. Okay, so let's talk about discrete data. One way to think of discrete data are counts. So number of pregnancies is a number of 3 or 4. It's not going to be a decimal like 3.2. A woman was pregnant 3 times, or she was pregnant 4 times, or she was pregnant 0 times, or whatever. It's not going to be 3.2. So discrete data would be whole numbers. Continuous data would be continuous. So you might tell me that you weigh 182 pounds, but you probably weigh 182.3 pounds. You've rounded it to a whole number. The length of a crab shell might be 4.3 centimeters. And so that would be known as continuous data. Now, it's going to be important on your homework. We're going to distinguish between these different types of data. And this is a foundation for picking the correct test later on. So you need to determine if data are discrete or continuous. Nominal data, okay? Nominal data would include race, such as blacks, whites, Asians. It could be something like the make of a car, Dodge, Toyota, Ford. These don't have any specified order. I always like to make a joke here. Unless you're a white supremacist, then maybe you'd say there was an order to these. But really, there's no natural order to race or the make of a car or anything like that. Now, ordinal data sounds like order, data in order. So you can rate your pain scale 1 to 7. You could rate your level of education as 1, 2, 3, or 4. College football, we have a lot of college football ratings. Who's the best team in America? I know we're about out of time, so I'm going to hustle through these last few. Interval data, you can add, subtract, or perform arithmetic operations. Values can be positive or negative. With ratio data, you can also perform arithmetic operations as well. The difference between ratio has an O in it, like 0. So 0 means 0. So the biggest example that I have here are like temperature. So temperature would be an example of interval data, okay? So if I said it was 0 degrees outside, it doesn't mean that there's no temperature, okay? So 0 is just kind of a placeholder. So temperature would be an example of interval data, whereas ratio data, so we talked about pregnancies earlier, 0 means 0. If you have 0 pregnancies, it means you've never been pregnant. Or if you have a height of 0, it means you have no height. If you have 0 children, you have no children, okay? So ratio includes 0. Interval, so 2 examples of interval data where 0 doesn't necessarily mean 0 are temperature and years. We can talk about 300 BC. Sometimes we'll joke about Christ was born in the year 0. There's actually no year 0, but if there were a year 0, that would be an example of interval data. So anyway, that's section 1.1. I'm going to go ahead and post my notes so that those of you who don't have a book, you can at least review the notes. So 3 things due tomorrow: your proctorio quiz, your how much homework did you complete, and then I'll give you probably about a 5 or so question quiz every day, and that'll be due tomorrow, 5 minutes before class. Any last questions before I let you guys go?
Do you post your notes throughout the semester, or is it just this week kind of thing?
I can do it either way. I can post it if you would prefer. Would you like to see my notes?
It'd be nice, that way I could like pay attention more versus trying to write it all down.
Okay. I will just say that writing it down does help you remember, so I would encourage you to write it down anyway, but I will go ahead and post the notes. So
Is there any way you could post like the pre-edited notes? Like I know you edit them during the class, but would you be able to post like the ones you already have done before class? So like if you scroll past the definition and we're still writing it, we could continue that.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, maybe I could do that. I'll try to post a few notes.
Okay.
I usually post them after class, but yeah, either way. Any other questions? All right. Well, I'm going to stop recording, and thank you all for coming. We'll see, how many people do we have here? Oh, 27. We got a few more people that showed up, so that's good. So we'll just meet here every day. Make sure you're on camera, and we'll have fun this week. And if, by the way, if you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to stick around. I'm not going to unless you want me to, but you can use this room anytime to get together and exchange phone numbers and study together if you'd like. So, all right, well, I'm going to stop recording, and thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.